Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to our A Life Designed Team Coaching Roundtable. It's so good to see the both of you. Hi, Dean. Hi, Jonathan. We're recording this at the end of the year, after Christmas, but before New Year's, so right at the end of 2025. What a year it's been, huh?
Yes, really been a very significant one.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to talk about slow living. That's a movement that's going on. I think it kicked off around 2017. And I think it got more converts after the pandemic when people were locked down and they were
Hmm.
like, wow, I really can live without going outside very much or eating in restaurants or whatever kinds of activities you had. They all screamed to a halt for a little while. So, slow living, yeah, we'll talk about that lifestyle today. First, we're going to look at the wonderful, um, here we go, share. There we go. We'll change it to present. Here we go. A quick PowerPoint presentation discussing slow living. I know the feeling of this. Your ceiling looks like this where you are, Dean, where you're just in a natural setting and relaxing with a cup of something. We don't know if that's tea or coffee or water or what she's doing there, but to just kind of be grounded in nature and taking things a little slower, more contemplatively. So that's what we'll talk about today, people making that choice. Okay, we have a meme here and it says, oops, wait a minute. Uh-oh, doggone it. I have to go out and come back in. Okay, present. And we'll do one more. Okay, back
There
to
you
where I was.
There we go.
We skip work for a few days during the holidays and I forget how to do everything. Okay, here's our meme. I love how being an adult is just saying, but after this week, things will slow down a bit again to yourself until you die. So maybe things never quite slow down unless you deliberately slow down. So people are exploring slow living as a concept or a shift in their lifestyle to connect with their why. You know, what is the point of this exercise if feel like I'm a rat in a maze, or if I'm on a treadmill, where am I really going? What is the point of it? Some people do a calendar detox in January. So they look at what can I stop doing just because I've been always doing it or doing it for a long time. Um, you consider what you want to versus what you have to do. Maybe there's a new categorization. If you're only doing things you have to do, you might not be feeling as fulfilled or relaxed as you might optimally feel. Some people do a health kick in January and they begin to listen to their body. They select social events again for the want to instead of the have to. Or if you've been a homebody and not gotten out and about, maybe add some things that take you out into the world to your calendar. Phone fasting is something I haven't heard of before, but basically it's less screen time. And then, declining to doom scroll, or some people will take Instagram or whatever it is they're on sort of repeatedly, take it off their phone and only look at it on a tablet or a laptop or a desktop so that they limit their access to the thing that they're involved with most in social media. And then some people choose to read and or write, like journaling is popular to start with in the new year. So there's some things that we might talk about. And then here's a couple of memes to start the laughter. Here's this first one up top is oops. I did it again. Oh my gosh, you guys. Thank you for your patience. I don't know how to go backwards, so we have to go forwards again. And I'm not going to not share the memes because they're my favorite part. So I have to go back to finding what I want to share. You guys, what happens? I don't know. Okay. I see how I can do this. I can't. Okay, we're skipping the memes. I'm making an executive decision. I've blown up the memes. So I will include them in the description so people don't miss out.
Do you remember your favorite one?
I
At least
don't.
one of them
I don't. I do like the therapist one where we tell ourselves it'll slow down soon, but in fact it does.
until yeah.
Yeah, until we die. So and I know when you have kids and schedules and team sports and school and after school activities, and then the year starts and you have birthday parties and family get-togethers and reunions and barbecues and
It's
holidays.
already packed.
Yeah, it's like, well, I know this is what we do for 4th of July weekend, and I know we like to go camping as a family in the summer, and I like, you start planning all of those things, but you could plan to slow down. And it's a good time as we come into the new year to reevaluate. Do I still love doing this? Could I take a year off and see if I miss it? Maybe I won't miss it. And what could we do instead? And you might find out you want to go back to it, or you might find out, no, I'm kind of over it. I don't need to do it anymore. So, Dean, you want to start with your thoughts about slow living? Did any of those ideas inspire you?
Well, it's interesting. I followed this movement for since it kind of became prominent online.
Hmm.
And obviously, it seems to me a reaction. It's really a reaction to a number of things. But one of the things that occurred to me was if you think back about movies, especially a lot of comedy kind of movies, a little more lighthearted movies in the 80s and 90s. So many of them involved characters who worked in a big building in New York City in
Yeah,
some unnamed corporation.
yeah.
Okay. Think of all the movies you used to see where a conference room was like a major setting for an employee, right?
Hmm.
And I think there was in those earlier decades a kind of valorization of the hard charging, powerful corporate person. And maybe that was a a myth peddled to particularly to Gen Xers like me, right, who were in our teens and 20s during those years. And but of course the defining characteristic of Gen X is to be disappointed with everything from before it even begins, right? So maybe it was sold to us, but um, we were probably always skeptical of it. So that by the time we get to the next generation, I think there's a reaction to that kind of propaganda, and there's a desire for people have a desire to live in ways that feel more meaningful, and the the vision of that particular sort of corporate life just doesn't resonate in the way that it may have once done. And I suspect that those movies and the images put forward there were really written and made by baby boomers for baby boomers who were the sort of, I mean, they're the people who built Apple, they built Microsoft, they built all of the corporations that
Hmm.
dominate our lives today. And in some ways, I think the slow living movement is just a name we give to efforts to escape the corporatization of everything.
Kind of a response.
Yes. And so that's part of it. I think the other thing is, so I do think let me begin with this. I think there is an economic part to it, and that we got to a point in our culture where everyone was so dependent on corporate products
Hmm.
that they got nervous. And it eventually occurred to people, well, what if this went away? And so you see one response to that kind of in a related movement, the sort of the homesteading movement that really became popular probably 10 years ago,
Hmm.
the let's move to the country and become more self-sufficient. I think there is so much more of that now than there was, say, in 1995.
Hmm.
And obviously that's related to slow living, but slow living, a lot of it is an aesthetic as well, and it has to, slow living is huge on YouTube,
Mm,
and that is probably um, it's probably significant
mhm,
that it's on a visual format
mhm,
that because people sort of had a I think do have a longing for aesthetics that reflect to them a different set of values other than sort of the corporate values that we've been sold. So
mhm.
think about the difference between the way an iPhone looks, right, and the way your grandma's house looks. Right? There's a difference between there's a big emotional difference between the Apple Store and your grandma's kitchen with its gingham tablecloth, right?
Mhm,
One of them speaks about a kind of human warmth,
mhm,
and the other does not. And I think that I think the aesthetic part is really about the assertion of a different set of values, even if it's unconsciously just associated with the way things look
mhm,
that people have been searching for ways to actualize a different set of ways to actualize a more humane set of values within the scope of a larger culture that has dismissed them.
mhm,
And all of that ultimately comes down to a sense of meaning. And that our sense of meaning is so tied to our sense of our ability to be present to anything.
mhm.
And our ability to be present to anything is related to our sense of velocity, right? Like, how quickly do you move? And I think probably people are searching for ways to move more slowly through their lives so that presence is easier.
You can pay attention to what's actually happening. You make a choice that's a considered choice because you had time to think about instead of just go do, go do, go do, go do.
Sure, yes, and I think, but you also have the opportunity to actually experience things,
Mhm,
so that you can actually experience the flower that you grew,
mhm, mhm.
and allow that in its way to sort of impress itself upon your senses and your spirit in a way that you cannot do if you move quickly, right? So it's just, I think so much of what we're calling the slow living movement and its adjacent cultural phenomena are really about people looking for an exit ramp that will allow them to live more humanly, probably even at a basic biological level. They just want a place, they just want some life that allows their nervous system to stop hurting so much.
Right, to actually slow down. You know, Jonathan, I heard a podcaster say this week that if you turn off your phone and then go do something outside, it's 2007 again. Like, one way to go back in time is to go to the park but leave your phone in the car and now go experience the park, or go to the barbecue and leave your phone. And now you're not turning to your phone for updates or to response to text messages. You're actually living in the external world without the electronic, tether to keep you to the modern world. And it does seem like with all the apps, all the productivity hacks, that we want to do it better, faster, better, faster. And now we've noticed we're speeding sort of through things. I saw a book title that said, as a renegade act, she chose her top productivity hack as rest.
Mm.
So she actually carved out time with no interaction with any device. And that rest let her be more productive because it wasn't the constant clanging in her mind of what's next and how to get all the things done. Do you have that thought? I know with your travels, if you travel in Mexico, certainly as Brian's traveled in India and Thailand, Sri Lanka, there are still a lot of cultures that engage in slower living. Do you have that experience that outside of the US or maybe outside of the more Western world, people are like, we don't know why you're trying to live slower. What are you people talking about? Jonathan?
Yes, definitely. Especially as soon as you arrive to those places,
Hmm.
you don't even have to like know something about like fast living or slow living. It just hits you in the face. The way they enjoy like details. Because if you're just living like faster and better, you have no like time to digest the information that is surrounding you.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's very dramatic. It's a dramatic change. The day feels like it's like longer also. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. But it takes me back to it can be misinterpreted. Like for example, like slow living, it's necessary, and I personally believe that it's a must. It's a must thing to experience
Hmm.
at some point,
Hmm.
especially when you're like struggling or like at certain times in your life when you have to rearrange yourself and your priorities and that kind of stuff. It's a great idea to like slow down so that you can actually think and process and then clearly see what's the best next step. Now, do you have to stay in a slow living way forever? I don't think so. But it is definitely a beautiful experience. It's like taking a walk in the park. It's different than like riding the bike or like flying on an airplane. It's fast, but you the details are different. Um,
I think when you're young, it's exciting. It's exciting to see the bright lights in the big city, to stay up late, to live a little fast, have new experiences. But I think eventually you may have had enough of that. I don't know. And
yeah,
personalities
yeah.
are different. Some
Which
people want excitement all the time. Go ahead, Jonathan.
yeah, which takes me back to after for the ones that have not experienced like the fast life, because definitely the US, it is a fast way of living. Like everything is faster and better.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything is so fast. Even like the fast food, everything it's fast, and people can't wait. Like, hey, I already waited 30 seconds. Hey, man, come on, it's been 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, even when like handcrafted things are like it feels different if you actually take the time to like feel something that was like handcrafted.
Mm-hmm.
It feels different. It's just a different experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to appreciate that, um, I think you kind of have to at some point experience the fast, like the horrors of the fast life, which can be like a trap. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you have not experienced them, that's probably why so many people is like on the how do you guys call it, like the rat race,
The
where
rat race, yeah.
like everybody wants like
Mm-hmm.
they already have one car, but now they want the better and faster and the
Mm-hmm.
newest.
Mm-hmm.
And now the neighbor got a different one, so now you have to keep up with the left neighbor and the right neighbor. So it's a never ending race, and you don't even
Well,
know
like
what
the
you race.
Joneses. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and you don't even know what you're racing for.
Yes,
And the
well,
worst thing, let me spoiler alert. At the end, there's no prize, so it's you
yeah,
just die. So
yeah.
wouldn't be worth taking into consideration that if that's going to happen at the end, and you only have a certain or a limited amount of time and energy,
Hmm.
instead of like just wasting it on pursuing something that you don't even know what it is, actually taking some like slowing down time and considering like what is it that I like, what I don't like. I like this. I don't really like that. Like the calendar thingy. I've
Hmm.
I've seen so many humans. They already like, oh, my calendar is packed with like, and they already like freaking out. And well, yeah, out of those events that you have, how many of those do you really want to go to?
Mm-hmm.
And how many of those you don't really want to go to, but you think that you have to,
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to keep up the lifestyle that you probably don't even want to. Because have you ever experienced something different ever before in your life? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
So it is worth slowing down so that you can appreciate
Mm-hmm.
and actually digest, because information can only be digested if you're in a very like slow. It's like reading, you know. If you're When you read, or like when you listen to an audiobook, whatever, if you actually are in a like a peaceful environment, you can digest the book better. Um, you can actually even savor like the pages. You can pay
Yes.
more attention to the details.
It's
You
a
can
more
remember
rewarding
more.
experience. It's more enjoyable.
Yeah, it can be kind of like an orgasm of like reading something, and then you just like, oh, that was great. Um, Instead of like just like going through so fast, and then you forget about it, and then
Mhm.
you just go to the next.
Charlie Kirk, who was recently killed, he started an organization that grew really fast. And I think in the early days, he got married. And then one year, the business doubled, and the following year, it doubled, and then it doubled again. And now he has a multi-million-dollar business. And he could be working 24/7. Like, they're booking things now around the world instead of just across the country. And they had two little kids in rapid succession, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, something like that. And the way they handled it was on Saturdays, Friday night at sundown, he would put his phone in a drawer in the kitchen, turn it off, put it in a drawer. And then he was not available on Saturday. Sunday morning, they would do church. Sunday afternoon, he'd turn his phone back on and get ready for the week. And so he physically had to put his phone in a drawer. And that meant he was available to the family and the kids. And they did things without his phone being turned on. That was, he untethered, from the external world, his calendar, his obligations, and just turned inward to his family. Brian sent me a picture when he was in Thailand of these communal meals that would happen every night in certain neighborhoods. There's a lot of open patios in Thailand, like a lot of tropical places. They have outdoor spaces there. There's a little bit of covering for rain, but otherwise, it's warm all the time and they go outside. And there are picnic tables shoved together on these patios, house after house after house, and you can kind of see into the patio. And there's 30 people having dinner. It's multi-generations of families. It's grandparents and adult kids and their kids. And, you know, this is just dinner on a day that ends in Y. Everybody together out on the patio in this big communal experience. And so I don't think you have to teach the Thai people how to live slow. That is their existing culture, is kind of a communal living and joint meals. And Brian said, I can't imagine what it would be like to grow up like that. He sent me the picture. Can you imagine if dinner meant 20 other people and we all just sat at the big table and spread, the food around? That I would find that exhausting. That would be a lot of conversation. But other people, this is just normally how they live. So I think we can learn some things from other cultures that haven't joined our rapid pace. But I think this is the time of year to decide what you want more of and what you want less of, and to make those changes. I posted on LinkedIn the annual experience of your not to-do list for the upcoming year. Let's look at the things that have populated your calendar. What don't you want to do anymore? And then go ahead and start canceling those things. Stop if you're tired of the piano lessons, or ask your child to choose. It's either soccer or it's hockey. We're not doing both. Pick one. Because in the off season, I want our family weekends back, not have all our family weekends around your sports schedule and your practices and your training and your tournaments. So a not to do list might be a way to look at reordering. Okay, to start with, instead of what do I want more of, What do I want to get rid of? So now I have room to add more things. I have bandwidth, even if that bandwidth is used in rest with your phone in a drawer somewhere. Dean, do you have some other thoughts?
I think the thing with Charlie Kirk is a good illustration because so much of this is like everything else. It's a desire to empower people to choose the values they live
Mm-hmm.
at them uh, in a way that's helpful for them in a moment. Okay. So, talking about multi-generational meals in Thailand, of course, that, those values and those kinds of practices sound great, right? I mean, like, we want to have space for those kinds of communal and community bonds.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I am sitting right now just outside a small city in Indiana of about 16,000 people.
Oh, little.
And if somebody here at the house fell down and got hurt, I could pick up my phone, an Android, which is provided to me by a corporation, right? And I can use that to dial 911, which will utilize the cell system provided and maintained by a corporation, right? To have an ambulance manufactured overseas by another corporation drive out here, pick that person up, and take them to the hospital that's about 4 miles away. So all of that infrastructure is created and maintained by people who are part of the rat race.
Yes.
And so there's a sense in which our culture has, traded off a lot of those kinds of communal values and experiences for other things, some of which are trivial, right? Like your Candy Crush, the fourth iteration of Candy Crush on your phone, right? But some of which are not trivial, right? And so for as many terrible things as there are to say about the rat race, one outcome of the rat race is that in the United States, there's a hospital in every town of more than 10,000 people, right? And now, of course, our healthcare system is plagued by many problems, but there's a reason that people don't want to surrender the rat race entirely.
Sure.
And it's because it produces at times outcomes which we can all look at and say, yes, it is good to have a hospital 4 miles away. Right. And it's good for that hospital to be open 24/7. And it's good that your surgeon went through a very demanding rat race like training. And so how do we navigate between that? I think the issue isn't really how do we deconstruct the system, and there are people who want that, but I think really the thing we do is empower individuals to be aware of which values are being manifested by the system and by alternative systems, and to kind of allow them to design a life built around which values work for them at which point in their life to achieve the specific goals that they're after, right? As opposed to sort of just saying the modern rat racy world is all bad or not, right? You see it as sometimes conflicting sets of values that have to be made manifest in wise ways.
I think, Jonathan, you might run into this. I think you also run into this, Dean, if you're working with someone who's in the dating world. I have a friend whose adult daughter, who's not quite 30, is a giant extrovert. When she plans her day, it's 4 activities besides her work, not one. There's the nail appointment or the hair appointment, the shopping, the book review that she puts up on TikTok or Instagram. And she is happiest when very busy and having a lot of activities that feed her experiences. She just wants to eat them all up. And the busyness makes her feel like she had a rewarding day. You know, it's fulfilling to her to go from event to event to event. She'll stack them up, like planes over Kennedy. This is how she likes to live and document it for Instagram. And this makes her happy. So she doesn't feel stressed. She feels stressed if she doesn't have anybody to see or go do or talk to on a given day. She fills the time because that's her happy place. So I think when you're encouraging people to match lifestyles with someone, know what makes you happy and find someone the same. She has found a long-term boyfriend who also likes to fill his time. And some of the things they like to do together, and some things he'll just do with her, like Taylor Swift concerts. He goes with her to keep her from being crushed by the crowd. He's not a Swiftie, but then she'll go motorcycle camping with him because he wants to be on the motorcycle on the back roads and then camp spots and brew coffee over a fire in the morning. Okay, you went to the Taylor Swift concert. I'll go do the motorcycle camping with you. So I think what we're inviting people to do, whether they want to explore slow living or not, is what do you want more of? What do you want less of? And make those choices in the new year. Tinker with things a little bit so that you're dialing in. I'll even say designing your life
Yes,
in the way that you like.
it reminds me of an anecdote by the priest Richard Rohr in his book on the Enneagram.
Mm.
And, the Enneagram puts forward 9 different personality types.
Mm-hmm.
And the 5 is the sort of the contemplative,
Mm.
right? The sort of highly inward, reflective, investigative,
Mm-hmm.
knowledge-oriented type. And he tells the story of how he went to speak to a group of monks,
Mm.
and he said to them, you all are happy to sit all day and watch a bird at the feeder, and because you don't need to do more than that, you think you're spiritual when really you're just a bunch of 5s, right?
Your personality type, yeah.
Kind of affects your values in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I do. I mean, I think that's what you're saying about these
Right.
people, right? Is that
Find out what you like and then match yourself with someone who likes also that same level of activity or inactivity, community experiences, less of those. Yeah.
yeah, it's to just I don't want to turn this into Enneagram hour, but in the Enneagram, so a personality type like an 8 is a person who must conquer in order to be fulfilled,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so metaphorical conquest becomes very important for that person
Mm-hmm.
because because in kind of the 8's conception of the world, if the 8 doesn't conquer, the vulnerable will be hurt. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the 8 kind of conceives the rat race in a way almost as an expression, or his success in the rat race as an expression of justice.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think there are personality dynamics. There's all these different dynamics that kind of influence
Mm-hmm.
how people want to live. But the problem is when they're only aware of one set of values. In our sort of corporatist, hyper capitalist, globalist society, only one set of values gets pushed in the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where a lot of people run into problems.
So it's not so much right or wrong, it's what's best suited for you, and then dial up more of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jonathan, do you find that people are paying attention or stop and think, as you say, how tethered am I to my phone? How much time do I spend doom scrolling or looking to see what the Joneses are up to? What is your experience with that?
As of now, it's more about like, for example, when it comes to dating, it's like speed. Even dating is speed
Speed
dating.
dating.
Why can it
Yeah.
not be? This is regular. I guess it's speed. Actually, before I forget, when it comes to like the system that is already set, which it is quite useful because it's true. Because
Mhm.
of the cell phone that I'm using, made by a corporation, with
Mhm.
the Wi-Fi that a corporation provides, I can be speaking to you or the guy in Venezuela that is watching, right? Um,
Yes, yes. Hello,
um,
Venezuela.
I like Venezuela.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, well, yeah, it goes going back to the like the rat race,
Mhm.
because everything is so fast. What if we are like you have to look around yourself, and if you're a rat, you don't have to be in a race. You can be like a wild rat. Like for for example, there are people that are become like surgeons just because they have the brain power to be one, and they know that they're going to earn certain amount of money if they become a surgeon. But in reality, they wanted to be a musician that takes life way more slow. But the thing is, they get like trapped. So not if you want to be a surgeon or a doctor or anything, it's fine as long as that's what you enjoy and you do it because it makes you enjoy your life and it's fun for you. Like you actually feel great while doing it.
Mhm.
But if you are doing it because that is a way for you to fulfill like a third party desire of yours, then you are
Mhm.
surprise in a race against, like, it's like a race that you cannot win, and it would
Mhm.
just suck your life. It will just suck the
Like the
life out of you.
therapist said, at the end of your life, it never got slower. You never got through the quieter calendar. Well, we'll do some final thoughts about this as people are thinking about their new year, their plans. I think I posted a meme, or maybe I haven't posted it yet, that said, um, I think it's somebody asking Winnie the Pooh, what is a New Year's resolution? And Winnie the Pooh says in this meme, it's a to-do list that expires January 2nd. So, yeah, it's kind of like, well, it's mostly casual intentions. Most people, have bigger ideas than they're able to actually pull off. Of course, the coaching is good to help you pick maybe the top one or two and get those started so that you can be successful with them. I was in kind of a movie marathon situation over this holiday weekend, and some of the movies were dystopian. They show like a collapsed society, and here's a group of people trying to survive in a new way. And I think we had a theme of those for a while, where some kind of it's Hunger Games or it's Maze Runners. There's some dystopian thing that's happened, and it kind of gives you the sharp relief or the big contrast about how humans can be successfully human when the machines take over, or the cities collapse, or the asteroid hits the earth, or whatever it is, the dire circumstances in the movie. But it shows you people forced into choosing their values, forced into choosing what clan they join and how they live. And we could do that voluntarily by really thinking about what's on our to-do list and in our calendars, and what do we want to put on the not to-do list and remove from our calendars for 2026. So, final thoughts, Dean, and then final thoughts, Jonathan, and remind us how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, I don't know that I have any more thoughts than what I said. I think again, and I say this often, that the best thing a person can do is cease to live reactively and try to think about how to live out his or her values. Kind of what you're saying, right? So maybe that's a good place to focus in the coming year. Is what can I do that's less reactive and more proactive around my values?
Mhm.
People can find me at deanabbott.com or at alifedesign.org/Dean
Mhm.
or on Twitter at Dean Abbott.
Wonderful. Good. Okay, thanks so much. And Jonathan, your final thoughts and how do people get a hold of you?
I have two tests for somebody that's wondering if they are living so fast, or like how do I know if I'm living very very fast.
Mhm.
The first one is very easy. You can just sit down on any position, comfortable position that you want, and close your eyes. put like an alarm for 5 minutes, set up like a 5 minute, like A series, set up a 5 minute alarm, and just don't do nothing for 5 minutes, and then open your eyes and see if you feel ashamed of yourself for like wasting time, or like if you feel like, oh my god, it's you did nothing. You're like, all the thoughts that you're going to have, that's going to give you a lot of insight into whether or not you're living too fast. The other one is, if you're going to the restroom and you are using your phone, more likely you are living very, very fast. So that's that's an easy one.
You're
Especially
pretty
number two.
tethered.
Okay, the number two, that's you are definitely extra
You're
fast.
pretty
Yeah.
tethered to your phone.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey. Um,
Well, I know in the maybe Gen Z, maybe Gen Alpha, there are some social requirements among those population cohorts where social rules have been established that you have to respond to a text within a certain amount of time, or it's some kind of social snub, you know? And so it's your social group may be requiring you to be on the phone 12 hours a day or available to respond. You send a heart, you liked their post, whatever that is. And to not do so is some kind of snub. So they sort of tie you into this response cycle to maintain the social relationships. You can choose to opt out of that and say, I may or may not respond to you. Don't take it personally. I turn my phone off at 7 p.m. and don't turn it on until 7 a.m. So if you reach out to me during that time frame, I won't see it. You can choose to do that and not let their feelings get hurt, rather than have your social circle drive your response cycle on text messages or postings and likings or not liking. So yeah, I think that just having a thoughtful approach to this marker that we use to sort of take our temperature in the new year. So thanks so much for joining us. There'll be information and research in the show notes. And I look forward to seeing everyone in the new year. Happy New Year, you guys. All right. Welcome 2026.